Odell Beckham Jr. wasn't just a star in the NFL, he was a moment in time. The kind of player who didn't just play football, but changed the way people experienced it. For a stretch in the mid-to 2010s, it felt like every single week Odell Beckham Jr. was doing something that didn't make sense. Something that made you stop scrolling, stop talking, stop everything, just to watch. He wasn't just producing stats, he was producing moments, the kind that live forever. But if you really step back and look at his career from start to finish, the story of Odell Beckham Jr. isn't just about how high he reached. It's about how quickly things began to fall apart. Because at one point, OBJ wasn't just great. He was on pace to become one of the greatest wide receivers we have ever seen. And somehow that trajectory didn't last. And to understand how that happened, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Before the fame, before the highlights, before the one-handed catch that made him a household name, Odell Beckham Jr. was already different. Born in New Orleans, he grew up in an environment where athletic excellence wasn't rare, it was expected. His father played running back at LSU. His mother was an elite track athlete, and from a young age, competition was built into his life. This wasn't someone discovering sports, this was someone raised in it. At Isidore Newman High School, OBJ wasn't just another athlete, he was the athlete. He dominated in football, he competed in basketball, he ran track, and in every sport, he stood out. But football was where it became obvious that something special was happening. The way he moved didn't look like everyone else. His ability to accelerate in short spaces, his balance when changing direction, his awareness of where the ball was at all times, it all looked natural. Coaches lined him up everywhere, wide receiver, slot, returner, even defense at times, because whenever he touched the ball, something happened. By the time he finished high school, he wasn't just a recruit, he was a playmaker with real hype behind him. When he committed to LSU, it felt inevitable. It was home, it was legacy, and it was a program that knew how to develop talent. But his time at LSU didn't start with fireworks. His freshman year was about adjusting. The speed of the game was different, the physicality was different, and he had to learn how to win consistently. His sophomore year showed flashes, big plays, glimpses of what he could become, but still not dominance. Then his junior year happened, and everything clicked. Over 1,100 yards, consistent production, explosive plays, and a growing reputation as one of the most dangerous receivers in college football. He wasn't just catching passes, he was turning routine plays into touchdowns. Slants turned into 50-yard runs. Screens became highlight plays, and suddenly, NFL scouts weren't just interested, they were impressed. They saw a receiver with elite body control, strong hands, and the ability to create after the catch in ways most players couldn't. But even then, nobody truly predicted what was about to happen next. In the 2014 NFL Draft, the New York Giants selected Odell Beckham Jr. with the 12th overall pick.
12th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Odell Beckham.
It was a good pick, a solid pick, but not one that dominated headlines. There were bigger names, bigger expectations around quarterbacks and other positions. OBJ was seen as talented, but not necessarily generational. And then his rookie season didn't even start on time. A hamstring injury kept him out of the first 4 games. In New York, that only added pressure. Fans were waiting, media was questioning, and expectations were growing before he even stepped onto the field. Then in week 5, he finally made his debut. And from the first few snaps, it felt different. His routes were sharp, his movement was explosive, and most importantly, he played with confidence. Not like a rookie trying to figure things out, but like someone who already knew he belonged. As the weeks went on, the numbers started stacking up. 100-yard games, touchdowns, clutch catches, he was producing at a level that didn't make sense for a rookie. By the end of just 12 games, he had 91 receptions, over 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns. That's not just good, that's historic. He averaged over 100 yards per game, something only elite veterans usually do. If you stretch that over a full season, he was on pace for nearly 1,800 yards and double-digit touchdowns, numbers that would have put him in some of the best seasons ever. But the stats weren't even the main story. The main story was how he was doing it. Week 12 against the Cowboys changed everything. Eli Manning throws a deep ball down the sideline. It's underthrown. The defender is grabbing him. The play looks dead. And somehow, Odell Beckham Jr. reaches back with one hand, extends his entire body, pulls the ball in with just his fingertips, and controls it as he falls into the end zone. It didn't make sense. It looked like something out of a video game. And instantly, everything changed. That catch wasn't just a highlight, it became one of the most famous plays in NFL history. It was replayed everywhere, talked about everywhere, and suddenly OBJ wasn't just a rookie, he was a superstar. From that moment on, he became the face of the next generation. And the craziest part is, he didn't slow down. In 2015, OBJ came back even better. Over 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, multiple games where he completely took over. There were stretches where it felt like the Giants' entire offense was just built around getting him the ball and letting him create. Quick slants turned into long touchdowns, short passes became explosive plays, and deep routes felt automatic. Defenses knew the ball was going to him, and it still didn't matter. He had speed, elite route running, incredible hands, and the kind of confidence that made him impossible to ignore. But this is where things started to shift. Because with that level of attention comes pressure. And with pressure comes scrutiny. OBJ played with emotion, passion, energy, and sometimes that crossed the line. The battle with Josh Norman became one of the most talked about moments of his career. Personal fouls, frustration, loss of control. It wasn't just about football anymore, it became about maturity, discipline, and whether he could handle being the face of the league. At the same time, the Giants weren't winning. Losing seasons started stacking up, and in the NFL, if your team isn't winning, the narrative changes quickly. Suddenly, OBJ wasn't just a superstar, he was seen as part of the problem. In 2016, things felt like they were coming back together. OBJ had another elite season, over 1,300 yards, double-digit touchdowns, and this time, the Giants were winning. They went 11-5 and made the playoffs. This was supposed to be his moment, the stage where he proved he wasn't just a highlight machine, he was a winner. But instead, it became one of the most infamous moments of his career, the Miami boat trip. Days before their playoff game, OBJ and his teammates were seen on a boat in Miami. The image went viral. Critics questioned their focus, their commitment, their preparation. And when the game came, OBJ struggled. Drops, missed opportunities, no impact. The Giants lost, and OBJ became the center of the blame. Whether it was fair or not didn't matter. The narrative was set, and from that moment on, everything felt different. Then came the injuries. In 2017, a fractured ankle ended his season early. For the first time, there were real questions about his durability. The Giants were collapsing. The locker room was unstable. And despite signing a massive contract, something didn't feel right anymore. Then came the trade. The Giants sent Odell Beckham Jr. to Cleveland, and that moment changed everything. Cleveland was supposed to be a fresh start, but it quickly turned complicated. The expectations were sky high. OBJ paired with Baker Mayfield, a young team, a chance to build something. But the chemistry never fully worked. There were flashes, big plays, deep catches, moments that reminded everyone who he was, but the consistency wasn't there. In 2019, he still had over 1,000 yards, but it didn't feel dominant, it felt forced. Then 2020 happened. OBJ tears his ACL, and this is where everything truly changes, because when he came back, he wasn't the same player. The explosion wasn't as sharp, the separation wasn't as easy, and the frustration started to show more than ever. Tension with the Browns built. His role became a constant topic. His father publicly criticized the team, showing clips of missed opportunities. And at that point, it was clear the situation was done. The Browns released him mid-season. At 29 years old, Odell Beckham Jr. went from being one of the biggest stars in the league to being unwanted. Then came one last chance, the Rams. And for a moment, everything came back. He made plays, he contributed, he helped them win. And as the playoffs began, OBJ became a key piece. Then came the Super Bowl. And for a brief moment, it felt like everything was coming full circle. OBJ scores early. He looks dominant. He looks like the best player on the field. This was his moment, and then it ended. Another ACL tear. In the biggest game of his life, his body failed him again. Yes, he got the ring, but that moment marked the end of the elite version of Odell Beckham Jr. After that, he returned, played with Baltimore, showed flashes, but it was clear. The player who once took over the league was gone, and that's what makes his story so powerful. Because at his peak, OBJ wasn't just great, he was different. He changed the game. He inspired a generation. But his career is also a reminder that greatness is fragile. Injuries, pressure, expectations, situation, it all matters. And sometimes, even the brightest stars don't last as long as they should. So when you look back at Odell Beckham Jr., the question isn't just what he was. It's what he could have been. A Hall of Famer. One of the greatest ever, or the biggest what if in NFL history. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to Playbook, drop a like, and let me know in the comments. Was OBJ a Hall of Fame talent or the biggest what if we've ever seen? And I'll catch you in the next one.